right, guys, we're going to start our meeting. Thank you. Welcome to Beach Mountains, July 8th, Town Council meeting. I need a motion to call this meeting to order.
Motion.
Second.
Chief, could you turn that, I'd like to start the meetings off with something positive. We had a good weekend. Would you go back to that last picture, please? So I think this was the first year, correct me if I'm wrong, that we did a slip and slide.
No.
We
Second
had,
or third.
really?
2 years.
2 years? Well, this is the first year I attended.
Did you slip and slide? You did
I
not.
had a great time, but there was like over 200 people there, and it was a success. So between that and the farmers market, there was a pool down at the end, and the kids just had a great time. And I don't know where they came from. I didn't recognize any families, so obviously they came off of Beach Mountain from somewhere. But it was nice having them visit the mountain and look at everything we have to offer. Then we had the farmers market. That was a huge success. Pig roast, we sold, how many plates were sold, Carol? 860?
About 780.
So that was a success. And then hats off to, I guess this is part of my council comments, at the end of the meeting.
Pre-meeting, yeah.
So I want to give a shout out to the rec department. They had a race maybe a week ago. They had 99 people, foot race. And then Friday night, they had another race and had 139 people.
Actually, it's reverse. 139 was the first.
Negative.
Kate just said that today.
Okay. So
You're right.
Big
You're
success.
right. You're right.
I'm right.
99.
99 and 139. I don't mess up with numbers. You get in trouble. So, but hats off to the rec department for a job well done. All right. I'm sorry.
And the camps.
And the camps. There's a lot going on Beach Mountain, and we're very thankful for what we have to offer our guests and our residents. We have some new faces here today. Thank you for attending the council meeting, and maybe some of the newer ones, you can buy us dinner after council meeting as part of the program.
Before, tell him he can't do that, man.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's illegal. Okay, so I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion.
Second? Second. Any discussion? Motion carries. Cyclone's feeling, he's under the weather today, so Chief Putney is going to give, no, I'm kidding. Alan is going to have a prayer.
Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, we thank you so much for this beautiful community, this beautiful mountain. We ask you to continue to bless us. We ask you to bless this council and the leadership of this town as we continue to move forward. And we just are so thankful in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Alan. Stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, public comment. This is a time for the public to address their elected officials on issues not on the agenda. The town council is interested in hearing your concerns. However, speakers should not expect council action or deliberation on the items brought forth during the public comment. So, Rob Duncan, if you'll give us your address, please. Pass these around.
And this is the supporting documentation, and this is just a summary of what I'm going to talk about. You all have it later. Rhetorical question, if you knock my mailbox down, are you responsible to put it back?
If you'll pass that forward, Putney, Chief Putney.
So over a period of quite a few years, 4 of our property boundary markers have been either covered up, displaced, or both. I've numbered them on the map, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are the ones I'm talking about. So the marker designated 3 shown in picture 1, which there's only one picture, if you can pass it around. It was covered up, been covered up for years by the Chat Road that the town built that went up beside the convenience center before they moved it. And my father-in-law, Ann's father, would go to the town, complain about it. They'd take a metal detector out there and find it for him, uncover it. He showed me where it was, and for a long time I could find it. And these are granite monuments, they're not just iron. So after some more town activity recently, couldn't find it at all. So marker designated number 3 is the one I'm talking about that kept getting covered up. Marker designated number 4 was also covered up by the chat washing down from the road toward the creek. It became impossible for us to find eventually. And I would note that all these granite monuments were originally out of the ground, and you can see them in picture 3. They were all, the ones that still are up, they're that high out of the ground after all those years. So that got covered up and we couldn't find it. Marker designated as 4, which is again in picture 1. When the town was reworking that area a few years ago, they knocked it down. And the town planner, Jess, at the time, he was either a surveyor or he was studying to be a surveyor. He surveyed it and put it back in place where it belonged. And then some more activity when they were, I guess about the time you were rebuilding the, or moving the public works and the convenience center during that time, and the time you put the trail in that they put in, during that time it got knocked over again. And the town said, here's an X, that's about where it's supposed to be. And then we had one, the one designated as number 3 in the pictures. That one, they said, this is about where that one should be. So I put the one granite monument back, and I drove a piece of PVC because we couldn't actually find the other granite monument. And then when you guys built the trail, or the pathway that comes up to the parkway, again, can't find your monument, here's about where it should be, I'll knock a piece of PVC down in the ground there. Well, this year we decided we were gonna do some stuff and we needed to know where, between 1 and 2, that line, we had to know where that was in order to make sure we stayed off the town's property. There's no way for us to know exactly where it is without surveying it. So I talked to Mr. Yates about it a couple of times and said, either you guys need to put those back where they belong so we'll know where we're at, or stipulate that's where the markers are. If you put something inside of that, it's your property. Anyway, I wasn't getting anywhere with that, so we finally hired Mike Lacey to come out. And he found the one up here. We found all 4 of those. You can see them on the map. The one up here on the asphalt, you can go in there and look where he put the pin. It's in the asphalt. So the trail's actually barely, but it's on our property. And you'll see another picture in there. I think it's number 6. And that's a streamliner in from a midpoint that he put in. And if you look at that picture, you'll see a huge pothole. Part of it's on your asphalt, part of it's on my property. That's a liability issue. And this is where Bob said the story kept changing, but it really didn't change. I was hoping that that trail you put in was not on my property. So where they told me, where the town told me the marker should be, put the trail on the property. But I was told at one point that when they put that trail in, they had a surveyor come 10 feet off the boundary lines and put iron in. And they did, because if you look at the check mark, which is about midway up on that map you got, If I take you over there, you'll see those irons 10 feet off of the property line that they put in. That was to keep the trail from ever getting on the property. So there's one of those irons up there where we're talking about near marker 4. And based on that information, I thought, well, if you put irons in and it's 10 feet off my property line, that marker maybe belongs 10 feet off of that. But when the surveyor got through, that wasn't the case. So the trail is completely on our property at that point. I talked to Bob about it. He says he'll move it. We're not worried about people just walking on our property. It's not that. We're concerned about inviting people on our property and getting sued. Real short story, friend of ours, developer. He has the cabins on 9 yards. He owns some, he rents to sell some. He was renting to a lady, gets a call from her brother, he's an attorney. My sister got hurt on your property, the cabin she was renting. She broke her ankle. What are you gonna do about it? And Phil goes, I don't know, this is the first time hearing about it. Well, in the meantime, he got lucky. A friend of his was at the emergency room with their kid, and this lady was in there, and they heard the whole story. She broke her ankle at Anaruby Falls, which is an attraction near those cabins. But she was going where the money was, and that's what that type of attorney's going to do that. I understand you guys have some liability insurance. I don't know how that would affect me getting sued or not, but it's just a concern. We would like to be reimbursed for the cost of the survey. And if you look on there, he put 2 midpoints in. They're $45 a piece. It's on the bill. He charges $45 a piece for the midpoints, and we're not asking to be reimbursed for that. So I think the total would be $665 if you take that off. And just to bring up one more subject, we bought some land further down the mountain. And before we closed on it, you guys had a trail on that property because they weren't paying attention to where the property markers were. But your guys moved that trail, so it's not a problem. Thank you.
Good. Yes, sir, thank you. All right, consent agenda. Need a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Item 6 passes. New business. This is only a call for a public hearing, so there's not going to be any discussion with it. Again, it's just a call for the public hearing. Would this public hearing be next month?
August 12th.
August 12th.
Yes, sir.
So I need a motion for a public hearing on August 12th.
Motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So again, this will be August the 12th. Item 7.2. This is I need a motion to open the bid acceptance for item 7.2.
Motion.
Second. Any discussion?
Bob, can you give us a recap of what this is? And
Yeah, this is the second of many to come for road repair projects, gravel roads mostly, but there is some paved road shoulders. This the second group that we've asked you to approve. It's I think 18 roads under this contract. Re-gravel, fix the ditch, resize the road, and repair it from after the storm. We expect FEMA to reimburse the town at 100% for this contract, although they've not committed, and we don't have any cash in hand from them.
was this on the FEMA list?
Oh, yes. Yes.
We're shaking the tree with FEMA.
Yeah. Getting nuts to fall off.
Anyone have any questions? Uh,
FEMA should be very happy with this rate.
yeah. All in favor to accept?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Very good. I want to give another shout out to, well, let me back up. I need a motion for item 7.3, resolution and promissory note for North Carolina cash flow. This is a loan, round number 2. Need a motion, please?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
The discussion that I like to start out with this is that I would like to recognize our town council and also the staff members that put this together. I've been communicating or conveying for some time that we have built some very nice relationships with our North Carolina, our state legislators, our North Carolina senators, our U.S. congressmen, and this loan that we received is $2.5 million, and it's at 0% interest. So a job well done for council and the staff members that put this together. So I need
How about another,
any
well, where does
discussion?
this put us as far as loans are? This is number 4?
This is number 2 of this. So this is funded through the North Carolina Department of Treasury, and this is round 2. The first loan was a little over $2 million, and the difference between this one and say the DEQ loan of $3.2 million. These 2 loans are cash to the town up front. We actually put them in interest-bearing accounts, and we're using those to pay for some of these projects that you just approved. That's set up to be repaid as we receive FEMA reimbursement. So if you follow the process, when all this comes together, the town should be made whole. We'll repay these zero-interest loans, cash flow loans, from proceeds from FEMA, which is why we've been delayed in getting the work done, because we needed some assurance that there would be money to pay for these. So the round 2 came about when the state had more money left over from round 1, and we asked for $10 million in round 2, and they gave us $2.5 million. So I believe it uses up all the funds that they had available in this particular pot of money. So this cash will now go into the town general fund. Steve Smith, our finance director, will then account for that separately on these projects. And for instance, the project you just approved for 18 roads will be paid out of these funds. And then when FEMA reimburses us for those projects, we'll repay the state. So you asked how many loans we have. So those are 2 of a little over $5 million. We have a $3.2 million cash advance loan that is not cash up front. It's through the Department of Environmental Quality. It's to be used only for utility projects, and that's on a reimbursement basis. They're just a lot quicker than FEMA. So we're using those funds to pay for right now the Buckeye Lake dredging and repairs to the utility. And that is on a, as you make payment, you submit the invoices to the state under that DEQ program, and you're repaid. And under my comments tonight, I've got a little bit more detail on where we are with all the monies, but it's somewhat complicated, and Steve can't go anywhere because we talk about it almost every morning about how we're tracking this and keeping track. The goal is to come out at the end made whole and not use any town funds to recover from Hurricane Helene.
So loans like this, is that what makes the general fund look a little bit more inflated than what it is?
Yeah, when we get to, we can do it now, the finance report in here, it shows a fund balance of like a little over $10 million. And those are true dollars, and those are dollars that are in the bank. However, we need to be careful that's not money that you could use to reduce taxes or that you could use to, plant flowers. Those are designated funds in many of these cases. So I know we've tried to separate those under project ordinances for you all. And we'll keep track of those, as I promised, as we go through, but you can't just look at a single set of gross numbers in the town financial report and come away with any clear conclusions. So if the council has questions, you can ask me. I'm going to walk next door and talk to Steve, because that's how we're keeping track of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item 7.3 passes. I need a motion to open the discussion of the nuisance ordinance.
Motion.
Second. You guys have any questions on this discussion? Actually, Preston's here. Preston, I have a question, please. Where is that? 7.4?
Mayor, while you're looking, if I could just make it clear to the council and the public, what you have in your packet is the existing nuisance ordinance. There's no changes proposed. That's what it exists today and has existed in some form for many, many years. I was asked to bring this to you for discussion today about possible changes to that. One of the issues that has been expressed to us is the down lumber and debris from Helene on private property and a future fire hazard. You heard from the public last week. We've talked about it. And so this ordinance in its entirety in your packet exists. And the mayor asked that we take a look at that, and Preston's here to address any questions you might have.
And Mr. Mayor, by way of background, the items you have in your nuisance ordinance are generally those that are considered to be public nuisances. Those are things that affect the general community as a whole. There are still private nuisances, which is a private cause of action. So if someone's neighbor is doing something that annoys only the neighbor, that neighbor has a civil cause of action that they can bring directly between the two of them without involving the town. And it does not depend upon us having a specific nuisance ordinance in our code that specifically relates to whatever the dispute between the neighbors is. But these are things that the town has deemed to be public nuisances that affect the general welfare of the entire community and should not be allowed. So that's the background on what is or is not in the general nuisance, public nuisance requirements of the ordinance. So if that's helpful to your discussion, we can certainly address anything that you see that this might need to add, include, or be redressed with.
Okay, thank you.
So if people have private property and they have trees down on their private property, we're talking about trying to enforce this to get them to take the damage that was done by Helene away. Is that where this is kind of going?
Oh, I suppose I don't want to speak for anyone, since that's kind of the question for your discussion is, as council, if you do that, I would be mindful you have a lot of different options when it's natural cause debris that could become a problem, as far as size of acreage of lot, amount of destruction, how do you quantify those items? If you want something to address that, those would be concerns you'd need to look into or to consider.
And
as
how
to
would this be
how you do that.
enforced?
Currently, our nuisance ordinance is all enforced by our building inspector.
Okay.
So they
Nice here.
generally, they generally provide a notice of violation, allow someone an opportunity to cure it. If they do not cure it, we usually assess a civil penalty to try and encourage them to fix it. And worst case scenario would be a civil action where we can collect our penalties, but also enter upon the property and fix the nuisance at the property owner's expense.
So part of what led up to this is some of the feedback, or a lot of feedback that we've had from citizens and residents of Beach Mountain with all the down debris. And, you know, the wood, in a matter of time, is going to be fire tender. And, you know, my concern with that is not so much the aesthetics, but being a hazard, fire hazard, and potentially being proactive is potentially having a situation like what we had at Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So, you know, if we can be proactive and maybe try to tighten this up a little bit, you know, I would be in favor of that.
I'm not sure about neighbors calling on neighbors.
We don't have to know. You know, so Preston, my question also in this, on item B1, when it talks about uncontrolled growth of weeds or grass to the height excess of 24 inches, where did that number 24 inches come from?
I'm assuming that was a random number that was chosen. You know, my research shows maybe anywhere from 12 to 24 inches. It's probably a balance between your sort of vacant lots with higher growth vegetation and sort of a lawn type area.
In looking at this ordinance, I think we need to take a look at, if you look at item B on page 67, if there is an ordinance, if there is a nuisance that has been, I guess, communicated, the homeowner's got 45 days to rectify it. And I think we need, I mean, by that time, you know, summer's 2/3 over. And I think we need to take a look at maybe changing that 45 days to 14 days. Is that something that's feasible, Preston?
You know, I think the statute, and Ford can probably say better than I can, you have to provide a reasonable amount of time for somebody to do something. Whether or not 2 weeks is reasonable, I don't know. You know,
If they don't live here, how is it? going
yeah,
to-
I mean,
Yeah.
Part of it would depend upon what you're asking them to do. If it's mow your grass that's 200 square feet, you can set a time for shorter than 45 days. If it is clean up your 50 acres of down mature growth trees, that's going to take longer than 14 days to do.
So does that have to be documented, or is that a case-by-case scenario?
It depends. Currently, the ordinance just sets a 45-day period for folks to mitigate the problems, which is ample time for most things, especially those that are itemized out in your ordinance. If you want to change that, we can always set different time frames for different scenarios if we need to.
Is there an option within here to ask for more time?
Not as it's written, but that's certainly something staff has discretion
What do you
to
mean?
allow.
Well,
If they
I've been
can
working
give
for
extension.
45 days continuously, I haven't got it done. Can I get another 10 days? Can
Well,
I
they get 50, I mean, if they have 50
And that
acres,
would be
that's going
within
to take
staff's
time.
discretion to do so.
We do that now.
Yes.
The ordinance, however, is the notice
Right.
and what we're bound to do. In other words, if it says there's 45 days of notice and hearing and compliance, we can't make it 40 days. We can make it 90 days, but we can't make it less.
Right.
So if people own a lot up here and just own the lot, then we can use this to then start making them mow it, is what we're talking about?
I don't want to speak for the attorney, but we have to first determine that it's a nuisance and it's a hazard. The ordinance lists the things that should apply. It needs to be, you know, a hazard. It brings vermin and snakes and mice and things like that. The ordinance doesn't speak to it looks bad.
Okay.
It
Because
has
we
to
do
be
have a lot
hazard.
of lot owners up here that haven't even thought about
And
building
the hazard
yet.
would be not only the things that are articulated in the ordinance, but fire hazard, those types of things.
There's some yards on Beach Mountain that the grass is a minimum of 4 feet tall. And that's, you know, we won't say it's an eyesore, but I mean, it is. But more importantly, I look at, as you said, the rodents that brings into to not only that yard, but the neighbors as well.
Well, if it's 4 feet tall, it's not grass.
Yes.
It's grass and weeds.
It's weeds.
Yes.
So how are we looking to use these ordinances or to enforce or not enforce cleanup of lots for debris of fallen trees?
Again, this ordinance exists, and many pieces of it have been here since 1989. This isn't something new. We believe, staff believes, that this ordinance can be used to enforce nuisances, and specifically the newer issue of debris on private property that we weren't permitted to remove through FEMA, that wasn't brought to the curb, that could be a hazard, either from vermin, from other hazards, or fire. The issue I have as a management perspective, if there's a vacant lot, you put a value on that lot, whatever you want for this argument, and it's $10,000. And we notify the owner to go clean up all this fallen debris, and the owner says no or doesn't do it, and then we hire a contractor to go clean it up, and it's $50,000. And we put a lien on the property of $50,000. A couple things are gonna happen. We'll go broke. It will never sell because it's so underwater. And we'll be left with a lot of property that we have liens on that can't be sold, and it may be counterproductive to the health of the town. So we need to really think about that.
Yeah.
I'm not prepared, the town's not prepared to go clean up 2,000 lots in the town, and every lot that's vacant has down trees on it. So it would be on a case-by-case basis, from my perspective, on what's truly hazardous and something that we could afford to do.
You know, and part of this may be premature with all the irons that we have in the fire. But I think it's worthy of a discussion in a public hearing.
And Mr. Mayor, it's worth noting that debris that has been caused by Hurricane Helene is eligible for the federal private property debris removal program.
Exactly.
Where the federal government and its contractors, and I guess through us as well, for those that will sign up, they can have that debris removed at no cost to them. So that is a program that's available to the citizens, but we
Is that
can't-
program still available?
So we can't sign them up for it. I'm not sure what the closing date on that is, if it is closed yet or not, but I know that is
Did you find out?
it is there, and I will find out on that.
I've got that.
If you've got
Yeah.
that.
And maybe at the public hearing we have on August 12th, we can have that information available.
Well, we'll put it on the town website tomorrow.
Okay.
FEMA has been begging for people to sign up for that. And people have not. It's
Just take the town rolls, and whichever doesn't have a house on that.
we aren't permitted to do that.
If we could sign folks up for it, we would, but we
Any
can't.
roads under that umbrella?
No.
Have we sent anything out to, via tax records, to property owners to say, hey, this program exists and we encourage you to sign up for it because we're gonna take enforcement actions? Like, I'm just thinking, do you communicate something to them?
Well, I don't mind communicating. I don't want to threaten enforcement action when the truth is that my recommendation is to you that we can't. We don't have the funds to do that, and long-term, it would be counterproductive to the health of the town. So,
But by having this discussion, hopefully it'll be educational to
It's on
the
public
residents
record.
if these funds are still available,
Yeah.
and that door is still open.
Because originally, we were dealing with houses that were falling down versus Helene damage was all part of this.
correct. The nuisance ordinance you have before you covers a lot of ground. The specific area we're talking about today is debris, natural debris, primarily from Helene, but there's a lot of, as the mayor has indicated, if you have 4 feet of weeds growing in your yard, that wasn't from Helene. But that may be more cost effective for us to go take care of than it would be clearing trees and stumps from private property. I want to caution you that we don't have the funds to do that, and we probably would not ever recoup those funds on a land lien on a lot that would render it basically, unsellable.
Art was adamant to bring up debris. Asked him not to, but we couldn't afford it. But
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
But we'd like to know from staff if you want some changes to this, or do you want to think about it? It's just a discussion today. If you want some changes, Preston's available to, in the town attorney to put those together for you. Shorten the time frame, shorten the weeds, that type of thing. But what I didn't want you to walk away from today was that we're going to start enforcing on vacant property for downed trees.
Now, I think we need to find out whether that FEMA is still, funds are still available.
Or even just put a Helene clause in here. Add something like that that kind of covers us on trying to get people to remove debris and that kind of stuff. Because right now, anybody could call anybody on this.
I think I would say to staff, is there any changes that you recommend need to be made? And have them bring those forward to us. If that's a yes, there is, or no, there's not.
Do you have anything you wanted to bring up today?
Nothing, offhand. Certainly, we can bring some recommended changes back.
Mr. Mayor, the current deadline for the private property debris removal program is July 31st.
All you have to do is go online.
Yes,
It takes 5 minutes. We'll put that link
Yeah,
on the
can we-
website tomorrow.
Yeah, we could,
okay, July 31st.
yes, sir, that's the current deadline to sign up for it.
Maybe they'll extend it.
The ways of the federal government are strange and unknown to the ways of the I wouldn't count on it, but for our
never
sake,
know.
hopefully they do. But July 31st is the deadline folks need to know.
Okay, so July 31st is the deadline for requesting funds for cleanup. All right,
I personally, I need to review this more and like to hear from staff.
sure. Yeah, this is only a
I
discussion,
agree with
Yeah.
her.
only a discussion.
Preston's got nothing else to do.
That's right.
So, how do we need, we've had a discussion, and there's not gonna be any vote, is there?
There's not necessarily a vote.
We just-
Certainly, you can, I guess your options are you can take no action right now and staff can bring you something back when
Sure.
staff is ready. You could table it to August meeting and give staff direction if you wish to do so, but you certainly are free to give direction to staff informally if you choose to do that as well.
Well, Stanford said, give you guys some time and bring some recommendations maybe back to us. And then we take no action on item 7.4. You guys good with
At
that?
this time,
Yeah.
yes.
Everybody good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Preston.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you, Preston.
Yeah.
Okay, Chief, you're up.
All right, a lot of things as usual. FEMA update on the revenue. I just wanted to bring you up to speed a little bit of what we talked about earlier, so I'll go through this a little bit quicker because I've already covered it. It's slow progress since November 24 with FEMA. We've received 3 amounts totaling $2.8 million for debris cleanup, emergency repairs, and repairs to Fire Station 2. So total, we've received $2.8 million from FEMA. Pending, they're asking me to return $40,000 of that because they made an overpayment on category A, which was debris, and we're taking the FEMA approach. We'll review it
I like it.
and go from there. We've submitted an additional $1.7 million on category B, which was emergency response. They funded 50% upfront, expedited funding. We're now complete with that project. We've reconciled all the records, and they owe us $1.7 million. We have 2 large projects that are stuck in Washington, D.C. They totaled $6.2 million. I had to call Congresswoman Virginia Fox and get her involved in that. She did. It was kind of a double-edged sword. because then my emails and my phone calls blew up with everyone from FEMA in Washington calling me to find out what they could do to help. And Mayor, I did use your name. They wanted to come meet with you personally. I said, you don't need to meet with the mayor. He's very upset. So all those dollars are pending, and I have no idea when they're going to obligate those funds. So what's in progress? We've got another $4 million that are submitted to FEMA for engineering, design, and costing on the utility system in Buckeye Lake. We're spending quite a bit of money on Buckeye Lake right now, as we've talked about. Our roads and culverts, we're still working through the process. You've approved 2 road culvert packages, and I'm going to bring you some more. The downside of that is this summer is going to be very intense in the town as we repair roads and culverts. Gravel roads are going to be a pain, and we're fixing the ditches and putting in new culverts.
Has the first contract people started?
They started yesterday. We've requested another $2.5 million, as you know, from the state. We've got the $3.2 million from DEQ. We have $3 million from the state for recovery expenses. So we've got basically $12 million total, all those numbers together. Cash in hand, available cash to make repairs. And we've estimated $30 million in damages, so we don't even have 50% yet. But we have enough to get a ton of work done this summer and going into fall.
And when the state passes the budget, hopefully in end of July or August, hopefully there'll be another $12 million that will be allocated.
We've asked, Mayor's asked for that. He's pressed the legislature very hard, and we keep being told it'll be in the budget, but they can't pass a budget, so we don't know where we're gonna be. So on the that's on the revenue side. We've got about $12 million cash on hand to spend on recovery in various pots of money and various strings that are attached. So we've spent $5.4 million so far to date. You just authorized bids, and I'm going to bring you bids on this month for another $1.5 million. So we'll have about $7 million obligated going through this summer. $12 million available, $7 million obligated. I feel comfortable with that. We're going to receive bids this Friday on and July 18th for more roads and culverts. So I'm going to ask at the end here to have a special council meeting to approve those bids. We can't wait. It'll be 5 minutes if you like the bids. We need to get these contractors on board and get them working.
Have you set a date for that?
I'm going to.
Okay.
The 22nd is what I'd like to do, and I'll explain that in a minute why.
Why can't we do this all in one package? Why do we have to have it all broken up in?
Well, various reasons. The engineering is, they're putting it out as quickly as possible. The FEMA inspection process was by road, by culvert. And we had over 600 culverts, and each culvert had to be GPS at the beginning and the end. They had to measure the size, they had to determine what the problem was. That has been very painful. And then the engineer has to take that damage inventory, damage assessment, damage description, it's called a DD, and design a package. So we, instead of doing one road at a time, we put 18 to 20 roads, and we tried to package them into a small project FEMA terms so that we didn't have to go through a higher level degree of scrutiny, not scrutiny, approval. It didn't get stuck in Washington, D.C. So if it's under $1 million, $1,045,000, in FEMA world, that's a small project. So all of these road projects, we've broken up into small projects to speed things up.
Makes sense.
And the FEMA regulations also require you to break things up into smaller projects to encourage smaller contracting firms to bid on them. So that's another requirement for reimbursement, that they have you go do that.
So we couldn't even bid the roads and the culverts together. We bid the roads and the ditch lines, and now we're bidding the culverts that have
The
to
same
dig up
roads.
the same roads. So that's why we're putting it all together this month to try and get the same contractors, the same contracts.
Right.
It's a pain. So one of the benefits are, however, we have almost all corrugated metal culverts that rust out at the bottom, and they collapse when we try to dig them out with the backhoe. So we've got a mitigation program approved for all of our culverts to not only go up in a size. If it was an 18, it'll be a 24. If it was a 15, it'll be an 18. 24 is the cap. But we're changing over from metal to HDPE, which is a fancy name for black plastic. Couple things. It'll last forever. It's easier to maintain, and it's smooth inside. So the debris that gets stuck in the metal culverts hopefully is going to go through a lot easier. That's a big benefit. We were able to get that approved.
That's huge.
So that's a big deal. The Buckeye Lake dredging, I'm officially telling you that it's nearing completion of phase 1. They're doing mechanical excavation, and then phase 2 will be hauling the debris. The contractor is problematic, go figure. And we're now deciding how he's going to finish and how he's going to get the lake back to where it was pre-Helene. But the dredge is out there. The water's muddy. There's all kinds of nuances to it, but we're probably about 4 weeks out.
You've been able to notice if the volume has changed?
No, the volume will be calculated. It's like a bucket, so the volume will be calculated with a sonar survey of where the hard bottom is and where's the top of the lake. And I think I explained this last month, but the last intake of the water plant is at 27 feet. So all the water in the lake below 27 feet is not available. So we wanted to increase the footprint of the lake to 27 feet, obviously, if you do your geometry. That's usable water for us. Unfortunately, the contractor got carried away and sucked a lot of holes below 27 feet. And now we're going back and trying to get the lake leveled out at 27 feet. The whole idea, the whole scope of the project, as you know, is to return the lake to pre-Helene conditions and increase or bring back the available water in millions of gallons. Any questions on FEMA funding? Lake Coffee, that's the other project that has nothing to do with FEMA, or actually it does. So we're at 70% final design, 100% design is expected by September. We're going to bid in October to get bids to construct that lake. So FEMA funded this project in 2 phases. Phase 1 was $1.8 million for the design to get us to bid. And then phase 2 was not obligated, and that was arguably $30 million or more for construction. So FEMA's kind of out of money. And so they're questioning whether phase 2 they'll have funds available for phase 2. But they've paid us for phase 1, and we will be made whole to phase 1, and we'll go to bid, and we'll find out what the hard numbers are, and we may have funding problems. But we're improving our benefit cost analysis for FEMA, which is what drives all their decisions. And we're actively seeking other FEMA funds. But we may run into a problem in late fall where FEMA says you got a great project, it's fully designed, it's shovel ready, that's a term they love, and we don't have the money to build it. So we're anticipating that and trying to look for other federal dollars for that. My goal is not to use the bond, and my goal is not to use general fund. We need to build this thing out of grants, federal money, low interest loans, whatever we need to do. We'll be at the next sledding hill with a cup. Take donations. I do want to mention that as we round third base on the design, the cooperation between the resort specifically and the club to a smaller extent has been very good. Sharing resources, sharing ability to use other lands. Specifically, we need to bring in a concrete batch plant on site. We have too much concrete to pour at the lake for the dam and the spillway. We can't haul it from Boone.
Yeah.
So we're gonna need a batch plan. The resort has graciously allowed, because they're a partner in this, to use their parking lot to put in the concrete batch plan. They have other projects on the table as well, and if we can time that together, that concrete batch plant will be able to be used for both. That cooperation didn't exist before, and now it does with this project, and it's been very
Yeah,
beneficial.
that's huge.
All right. So that everybody read in the Watauga Democrat that the state passed a $500 million Helene recovery bill. There was no direct appropriation for the town, as we thought there might be. But there were two programs in there, particularly for stormwater, that looked very attractive for us. And if you'll recall, we're bringing to you in August a stormwater utility discussion from our engineer that we hired. Now there's a good funding mechanism available for that. So although there's not direct funds in that $500 million for the town, we believe we'll be able to tap into that for some mitigation, flooding mitigation going forward. So everybody can stop calling me and say, you know, did you get any of that $500 million? Our commercial district plan is progressing well. There's a meeting at the venue at Boulder Creek at 6 o'clock tonight. The second round of meetings are underway. There's been a great deal of public input. The meeting this evening, I said, everybody's invited, and we're on schedule for an October presentation of the final plan to you for discussion. The dedication of the visitor center went really well, and we're hosting substantial numbers of visitors every day. That number's ticking up, as you would imagine, during the summer, so that went well. On the same subject, we're in a dispute with the contractor, VPC, primarily over the parking lot. And the town attorney and I and the architect are working through that, but you should know that we're withholding funds in an amount enough to make the repairs as we feel need to be made. But we are in a dispute, and
Shocking.
don't know where that's going to go. Again, bad news, but good news. The TDA denied the town's request for additional items we discussed at budget. If you recall, that was salt, that was a mower, that was a salt building. They did, however, agree to fund other projects they felt were more in line with their TDA mission, and we'll discuss that a little bit later. The traffic counter's working well. Preston sends me a report every Monday. We're getting valuable data. I wanted to let you know that 35,000 vehicles passed by Town Hall this past week for the holiday 4th of July weekend. That number may just go over your head, but think about that.
Well, it was me 6 times. I mean,
We counted you. We counted you. And last thing I've got, Mayor, is I'd like to request a special council meeting for the 22nd of this month at 9 o'clock to approve bids, which we will be opening on the 11th and the 18th.
Bob, one quick question. Anything on Charter Hills?
Charter Hills. That's one of the projects that FEMA has stuck in Washington, D.C. The design is about 60% done. We've got a cost factor for it. All the hard work is done, the coring, the seismic and geotech. Now we're just waiting for the final design. We'll go to bid. I'll have to hold that one until we get funding.
That's too big.
That's about a $4 million repair, and I just don't have those funds to do that. But that should be, to be honest with you, that's going to be next year. You won't see Charter Hills repaired until next year.
Okay.
So I need a motion on that special meeting.
Need a motion for the special meeting on July 22nd,
22nd, 9 o'clock.
9 a.m.
Motion.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, July 22nd at 9 a.m.
It will be short, I promise.
Gonna have
Okay.
coffee available. Coffee available.
See, thank you for attending.
I can.
Okay, town council comments. Alan?
Yeah, Chief just said that, the Hill Studios, they've done a really great job. If you have time, please go down to the meeting at 6 o'clock tonight, and you'll be, I think, very pleasantly surprised at the renditions that they came up with. They're a great group of people. You can ask all kinds of questions. They're very, very helpful, and they really do listen. You know, if you have ideas, good or bad, you know, you can bring that to them. So I really encourage everyone to be part of this process.
The mayor opened this meeting thanking all the rec department, and everything, which was my comment tonight, but also I'd like to point out, I mean, the rec department did an unbelievable job with the slip and slide and the farmer's market and the 5K run, all going on within 36 hours of each other. And, you know, they need to be commended. And I think the participation from the town was fantastic. It was a beautiful weekend. We couldn't ask better weather-wise. And same with the pig roast. I think the volunteers that put that together, it came off fantastic. The whole evening was just magical with the moon behind the fireworks and everything. It was just a great event. It was a great weekend, and I think that just shows what Beach Mountain's got to offer. Thank you.
Stafford?
So, again, the chamber and the pig roast, the resort, that was amazing. I think we should, Carol, next year have a pin that says we survived July 4th weekend. It was a lot of fun.
On vacation.
I forgot.
There you go.
Perfect. So last month's meeting, I said something, misspoke, and had to go back and figure out, am I up for election or not? And so, to set the record straight and make everything clear, every election cycle, we vote for 3 members of town council. And so when the votes counted, the 2 folks with the most votes have a 4-year term, and the person with the least amount of votes during that election cycle has a 2-year term. I have a 2-year term from the last election.
So you really won.
Yeah, well, I did, because I went and signed up to run for town council again yesterday at about 3 o'clock. So, M.W. Stanford on the ballot. Please vote for me. I enjoy serving here. I enjoy being a public servant. So, thank you for your vote. Again, thanks to all the staff members and everybody that made July 4th go over well here at the town. It was a great weekend.
Vice Mayor?
Well, I'm ditto. I just signed up today to run again, so we'll see who gets the 2 and who gets the 4. I just always tell people over and over again, you can't complain if you don't run. So I would love to see more names on this ballot if you want to vote me out. I don't have a problem with that, but like I said, you can't. I'm glad you all are here. The other thing that's really important is that our town is as important as its employees, and that we as council have to trust the employees to give us guidance to help us make the decisions. So my trust is always in town manager as well as the employees, and hopefully you'll vote for me in November.
Well, the slip and slide was nice until Art came out in the Speedo.
Oh, my eyes.
No, I mirror the same comments that everyone made. We started cooking barbecue Saturday morning around 4:30. It was a long day. We dearly miss Pete Chamberlain, for those that know Pete. Pete was part of this program for
As long as it was there.
50-some years. We miss coffee in the morning. Somebody's supposed to have brought it. They must have been sleeping in. I'm not gonna mention any names, but Petrie was one of them. But this council we're doing something right. We're doing a lot right. I received a note from the president of the North Carolina League of Municipalities. She has said that she's made numerous visits to Beach Mountain in this past quarter. She's watched our council meetings. She was very complimentary of the progress that we've made in a short period of time and how well council gets along with our town manager and how we work together as a team. So in saying that, Stanford is filed for reelection, and so is Kelly, and I did as well yesterday. Not to say that other folks can't do better, but we have a strong team, and I'd like to see this council remain. I think we're all business-minded, and we work hard for the town, and we make good decisions for the residents of Beach Mountain. Anyone else have any comments?
Yeah, I just failed to mention the resort did a great job. They, before the barbecue, they had a lot of people out there that put a lot of activities together. I mean, it was a great team event throughout the town.
I know Ryan Costin, who's general manager of the ski resort, Beach Mountain Ski Resort. You know, his goal was to make Beach Mountain a summer or a year-round destination. And he and his staff have worked very hard to make that come true. With the summer concerts that the resort has, and the downhill mountain biking. Jimmy's done a great job with concerts on Friday night. And it seems like that, you know, rather than the resort and some of the other businesses competing for the same real estate on the same evening, they're starting to work better together and split some of these events up so they're not having it on the same night. So in saying that, we will adjourn.
Closed session.
Closed session?
Yes, sir. We'd have need for a closed session for attorney-client matters and then also the potential acquisition of real property.
Okay, I need a motion to have a closed session.
Motion.
Second.
All right. right, I need a motion to call our town council meeting back to order.
Motion?
Second.
All right, and I need a motion to close.
Motion.
All right, meeting's over.
Okay.
Did I do okay? Did I pass? What's your assistant's name?
Jack.
Jackie, did I do okay? I was very nervous having you in here for the first time.
Thank you.